you don't have modules in JavaScript. So whenever you add new JavaScript files to your index HTML or whatever HTML file, it will just append the JavaScript to the stack of JavaScript it knows already. So that means if you have one variable in one file and the same variable in another file, it will be overwritten. It will be the last one that have that. So all the features you added to the first definition will just be lost. Because you don't have this idea of modules, so everything is in the same, on the same level. So we talked about this easy ways is to do like this. That's an easy. So that's a function you execute right away. So you get, because then you get the this is what's inside here is scope. That's not known for anybody outside because you have this function scope. So between this curly bracket and this one, this is not added to anything. So it will not be polluting the global scope. And so what's going on inside here will be executed right away. But the problem is that eventually that you can do all your JavaScript in one single file. That's nice, and then just add that file to your environment HTML file. But the problem is that doing everything in one single file becomes a problem when you're doing. Before, when it just was setting up some event handlers and stuff like that, it was nice to have only one file. But nowadays, when you do real programming on the front end, then you need to divide it into different files, and then you have the problem that the files should be loaded in the right order and so on. So one way to do that is to use an asynchronous module definition. We have seen this before. We have also seen an example. I will try to do an example today when we use that. But so we use this module loader, and the reason for not using the modules of ES6 is because it's not supported by the browsers yet. So otherwise we would use that. Feel free to use any kind of modeling that you want. If you want to do ES6 with the modules there, and then do the transpilation to ES5, no problem. Feel free to do that. No complaints from here from. But I will use this as an example in the class, because right now it's easier than doing the transpilation step, because you have to jump out and do something. This can be done with the pure JavaScript and HTML. So we saw this example. I'll just repeat that and then do an example in a moment. So we have this one definition where you add the require library. In this case, I have a scripts folder where I have the library, and then I have require, and I have the main JS file where I have, and this is the main JS file where I have the definition of the base URL. That will be scripts, and then the paths, so how to get to knockout, to jQuery, and to Bootstrap, and to text. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, and then when you use it, you can use it in two different ways. You can define a module by using define, and then that will be the only thing you have in the file. That's this define, because that's what become loaded by the loader whenever you reference that file. So you get what's inside this function. So it's like doing this. Creating a module. So this will be a module because we have scope here. So it will not be added to the global scope. It will just be part of this scope here, and then you can inject that into another scope and use it there. But you can also use it right away. Say, okay, I want to execute something right now. This is not executed. It's only executed when you ask for it. Say that this is assume that this is the view model file, then it will be executed when you ask for it. So it will be loaded into the environment, and you can use that. So and this will be executed when the interpreter gets to this specific location. So you can say what is required and then execute what's inside this function. So you need to have at least one of these because you have to start off everything. So that's the require part. So we didn't talk last time about we talked a lot about knockout, but we didn't talk about the components of knockout. So instead of working with templates, we can knockout support the components. So that means we can make a component that is a piece of HTML together with a view model. So they are the one single component where you have the HTML and the view model that you use in this piece of HTML, and then you can show that on your page. So what you do is that you on the knockout have a attribute called components. So that's an array of it's not an array, but it's the components of of knockout, and then you can register new components. And when you do that, you give it a name here. Then you can use this name in a tag. So you can just make a tag with the less than greater than around this one, and then not Angular, but knockout will translate that into the HTML you have here, and the use of this view model. So that will be the view model that is in use for that specific part of the HTML page. Of course, this is not a solution. If you think about this, it's very similar to the idea that they are using in React. In React, you have a component that's a small piece of HTML, and then you have some variables you can reference inside that, and then that's the component. That's the React kind of way. Angular is doing it a little bit differently, but they also have this directories. I think that's the name. That's also like this components here. But of course this becomes a little bit problem because you have the HTML as a piece of text here, and you don't have any help there. You don't get any syntax checking. You don't get anything because it's just the text. So and you can't see how it looks like because you can't. It's just text, so you have to execute and so on. So it's not the nicest way to solve the problem. The way they solve it in React is actually to introduce another language, and language where you can mix HTML into JavaScript, and then that will be transformed into pure JavaScript with text in it. But we cannot do that in Knockout. So one way, instead of having it here, is to use require instead. So we put this in one file, and this in one file, and then we just define the component as pointing to these two files, and then require will load these two files whenever the component is loaded. So you have an HTML file, and you have a JavaScript file that will be part of your component. So that makes it easier to work with. So this is how you use it. So you can use this here. So we have this component here. So that will be shown here, and you can pass parameters into the component. That will be passed into the view model that you're using. So you will get some parameters from the outside into your view model that you can use. So this is an example of a component, and you're just using it like this. So using it together with the AMD, so the require part is to say the view model, and then have an object that have one attribute that is required, and then the file, the path to the file to the view model file that you're using without the JS in the end. That's part of the require. But since require is normally only used to load JavaScript files, because that was the idea, to have JavaScript modules, it doesn't know how to load XML files. So they have an extension called text require text to load text files. So in order to tell require that you should use the text part, you have to use text bang and then the name of the file. So that's how you do that. It's not a big deal when you get the idea. It's not that difficult. You have to do it the same for all the components. So yeah. Any questions? That was the last slide. So my idea is actually to try to do something with require and knockout and templates, and do something where you can switch the content by clicking different elements on, so you can see, because that's what you need. so it's like trying to give you a skeleton for your application. So of course it has nothing to do with your application, but it forms the idea of how to have different components and how to switch the content of the page. So that's the purpose of the rest of today. Any questions?